Rapid infrastructure renewal and upgrade through public-private partnership initiatives have been a key policy of the present administration in Lagos State. Joining us now from Lagos to discuss how the state is applying partnerships for the development is Ayo Gbeleyi. He's the Director General of the Lagos State Office of Public-Private Partnership. DG, thank you so much for coming through to us here on Beyond Markets. Take us through some of the renewal and upgrades, that has been initiated through the public-private partnerships that you have put in place in recent months.
Well, how are you again, Karima? And thank you very much. In Lagos, public-private partnership is a major policy thrust for us in terms of acceleration and delivery of public infrastructure. In this regard, over time, we've managed to deliver successful flagship projects like the 49.36 kilometer Eti-Osa-Lekki-Epe Express Road, the Lagos bus rapid transit system across the city that was delivered in 2008, and we are still rapidly expanding that. We have delivered many real estate projects in terms of leisure and retail mall centers in the state. Housing programs have been delivered. As we speak, there is a light metro rail transit project referred to as the Blue Line, which is running on a 27-kilometer track from the Marina in Lagos through National Theatre all the way to Okokomaiko. The concession agreement is right about to be completed.
DG, let me come in here.
We are quite encouraged and impressed with the level of progress we've made.
Yes, as I was saying, DG, what is the kind of incentives that, the state has had to put on the table to get private companies to come in and participate in the initiatives? How have you been able to incentivize your layout to make it, worth the while of private companies to come on board?
Well, a key component of public-private partnership is, engendering investor confidence in the investment climate. In this regard, Lagos State government has been in the forefront in, Nigeria and, in fact, in West Africa. What we have done is essentially to improve the legal and regulatory climate for implementing PPP projects. In this regard, we have a professional PPP office that has been set up, manned by, professionals from the private sector. We have the enabling law for PPP project that was passed in 2011. The public procurement law is also a key component in this regard. As you also very well know, there are various commitments of government within a PPP structure that must also be provided for via appropriations, such as commitments on viability gap funding on the part of government for its own component, such as certain government obligations that must be met within a PPP arrangement. So all of these are provided for in our fiscal appropriation process, to demonstrate our commitment to PPP projects.
Now, one of the things that private sector companies always complain about when they go into, these partnerships with the public sector is that sometimes the state is slow off the mark in coming to the party. And you've just mentioned, interestingly, that it is important that government actually sticks to timetables, that projects come in on budget and on time. How does the public sector from the government's end?
Sorry, Karima, I didn't get that very clearly. Can you kindly come again?
Yes, what I wanted to know is how do you ensure that the public sector, that government comes to the party on time? The private sector is often complaining that, governments take its time, bureaucracy takes a long time to roll over. How do you make sure that the government makes good on its commitments in terms of timeframes, getting projects in on time and on budget?
Well, what we have done essentially is it starts from the conceptualization of the project. As you very well know, PPP projects are, are long-term projects, so which you run through a complete life cycle. We ensure that projects are properly conceptualized, planned, negotiated for contract, and also properly implemented. We work with top advisors from all over the world to hold our hands through such process to ensure that, we have a win-win contractual relationship with the private sector. And of course, once all of these are negotiated, contracted, and sealed, government ensures that whatever are our contributions or obligations under such agreements are met in a very timely manner.
Now, of course, the current administration will soon be handing over in the year 2015. What plans are there to ensure continuity of ongoing projects so that, the fact that these are often long-term is not interrupted if there's a change in administration?
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Karima. Essentially, the government of Lagos State has focused on institutionalizing the PPP framework in the state. In this regard, like I said, we have passed the necessary laws to institutionalize what we are doing. We have a full-fledged office that is set up, manned by professional people. All of this will certainly outlive the current administration, and they would continue into the future, as necessary to ensure the continuity of PPP policy and programs in this state, and also ensure continued commitment of government for our contractual obligations. And of course, these have been tested time over. As you very well know, the state government, in the early part of this last decade, contracted the Enron AES 270 megawatts project, and government showed significant commitment in that regard. So many others of such PPP projects that government has continued to demonstrate its continued commitment towards successful implementation of those projects, and we will not relent in this regard.
DG, the question that often arises, particularly in the transport sector, is what kind of uptake have you had from the private sector? Because costs are, of course, quite high in this sector. Are people comfortable with pumping in the kind of cash that is required over this long period, given that the costs, are quite substantial here?
Karima, I didn't hear the early part of your question. If you don't mind, can you kindly take that again?
Yeah, essentially I'm talking about the kind of appetite that you've had from the private sector in the transport section, given that transport as a sector is quite costly for private sector investment. Are people showing, an appetite for this, given the cost drivers here?
I didn't still get you quite well, but if you are talking about the appetite of private sector for PPP projects in Lagos State, what we are seeing is quite encouraging. We are quite excited at the enthusiasm. We are seeing investment flows coming from across the continent into Lagos. As we speak, on the Etios-Aleki-Ekpe Express project, you have Macquarie and Old Mutual in that transaction. We have AFDB as lenders. We have Standard Bank Group out of UK also lending into that project. The deep sea port to be located at Lekki is also being led by a Singaporean group, the Tolerant Group. That is creating a lot of excitement now. We are seeing investors, showing keen interest in that project. Same thing with the Blue Line, which is currently running, and the concession agreement is about to be closed.